Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and today we're going to talk about books that I love, centering tropes that I hate. So I think this is a really interesting video because there are certain bookish tropes that universally we all know and hate. Like, we're like, oh yeah, that's not for me. That's not my cup of tea. Until you find the specific book, or better yet, the specific author. I have about 5 different prompts, and each one of them I have 2 books to support my theory of maybe that trope just isn't that bad. Starting with probably one of the most universally hated tropes, Instalove. Now, for me, I am not a slow burn girly. I want to understand and get to the romance soon, but not too quick. Not like Minuteman quick. Like, I need you to work me through the romance. I need to have it where at least y'all have gone on a number of dates, time has passed, and I can see the relationship develop to where it seems like, oh, we solid. However, there are a couple of books that I'm like, yeah, this is unrealistic. Yeah, baby, it's fiction. However, I can get with it. Like, I support y'all union. Starting with Queen Beverly herself. Queen Beverly Jenkins has released Destiny's Embrace. Now, I finished this yesterday. When I finished it, I said, oh yeah, it's time to do this video because I have to tell y'all about this book and how she was able to write an Insta-love that not only do I support and fully endorse, but she was able to write an Insta-love romance where they had known each other for literally 7 days and in just 1 week. And it felt like months. It felt like their romance had spanned time, that their romance had like really tested them and given them a way of comfort for one another, that they felt like they were soulmates. And I was like, 7 days? Actually, by day 3 or day 4, y'all was like, oh yeah, I really like this man. Oh yeah, this woman is making me buy her the world, making me go against the grain, making me put away my childish games and the women that I was dealing with, like, because I want to be with her. How? Beverly Jenkins has that type of power. Y'all, if you enjoy historical romance, honestly, even if you don't enjoy historical romance, but you like something that is workplace romance, you like something that is class difference, you like something that is virgin heroine, which is one of my tropes that I dislike, and I'll be talking about that a little bit more. But if you like something that has banter, that has strong-willed women and men that don't mind spending money on them, this will do it. And like I said, it's Instalove, and you will truly be a believer after you read it. Another Instalove that works for me actually is interesting because the premise sets it up for them to be Instalove, because there's no other way that this male main character would fall in love with another human being. They're just not wired to be that way. And that's going to be Psycho by Onley James. Honestly, it could have been this one or the first one in the series, but this one is my favorite in the Mulvaney Brothers series. This is book 2. Psycho is a story about our male main character who is a serial unaliver, but he is also a psychopath. And he falls in love with an FBI profiler. That already enticed me. This FBI profiler has left the FBI and decided to live a quiet life, but he is also a psychic and he can see premonitions. And he happens to see that the man that is going to become his, significant other also has done a spree of crimes. And he's like, no, thank you. I don't want to get to know you, sir. Whereas the male main character is like, I do not care what you want. I have chosen you to be my person. I actually love you and I don't know how to love. So that's just what it is. And somehow that worked for me. Like, this one has the found family trope. It is very hilarious. Again, you can see how a person who is not who has not been capable of loving, who doesn't have that sense of capacity to be able to understand normal emotions, when you see that he finds the person that intrigues him, that he wants to know more, you cannot help but to like go with that feeling and want to see why it is they're drawn to one another. And it's instantaneously. The one person is like, oh, I instantly know I don't want to be bothered with you because you're a psycho. And the other person is like, oh, you make my heart tick. I want you to be with me forever. It's a little unhinged, but in the best way, to where that Insta-love works. When you know, you know. And these two, they know. My next trope that I seriously do not like, which I talked about already, is virgin heroine. Now, I love me a virgin hero. If you all know a virgin hero story, please put it down below because I eat those up for breakfast. However, the whole purity culture, being able to say she is untouched, she is a virgin, and the male can dominate her and have the prize, that's not my bag. However, there are two books that are darker in nature that I'm like, okay, I see what you did there. It works. I understand. They weren't necessarily saving themselves for that special person. They just so happen to have never done the do. And they find the big bad wolf that says, okay, I'm going to rock with it. And the first one is going to be my literal favorite, Easy Like Sunday Morning by Kenya Gory Bell. I love and adore this book. Y'all just don't understand how much this book plays a loop in my mind. Ezekiel Jane is our female main character, and she is a good going church girl. She is like pure in every form and facet. Like she is, I want to say she's a librarian, and she just has every good feature about her, which typically is one of those things I'm like, babe, you're too sugary sweet. However, Ezekiel Jane finds herself in a predicament where she gets a flat tire, she is stuck in the crossroads, and she runs into this motorcycle gang. And in order for her to not become subject to the men at the bar, she has to be claimed by the MC, the president of the motorcycle club. And the way in which he chooses her, protects her, loves her down, and the scene in which he makes sure she is no longer pure and she's a little bit solely just for him will live rent free in my mind, to the point where I was like, okay, I can get behind this virgin heroine trope in this particular sense. And that is Kenya Gory Bell's bag. Like, she loves writing a virgin heroine, and every time I'm like, now, you know, sis, I don't like this trope. And she does it so well. Every time I'm like, it's not that bad. I actually understand. Now, I was trying to find a second one. And I was like, why is this one just not ringing a bell to you? Until I was like, duh. Because it wasn't the women's choice to be virgins. They were holding their purity until their father said so. And when they said, no longer do I let him hold that control over me, I'm going to find the person who I deem worthy. And baby, they did. That's going to be Demon's Dream by L.K. Sin. This has two virgin heroines. You've got Diana, which Diana is my girl. Like, I know the story really is about Dream, and she is the sister to Diana. Both of them, like I said, were virgins that their father was trying to make suitable matches for them until they found Smoke and Demon. However, in this story, I'm like, okay, y'all do the choosing, right? Like, y'all take the agency over for yourselves. You decide to find the men, and the men that you found do not play about y'all. They said, okay, you're my woman. I've claimed you in mind, body, soul, and spirit. So we go together. This one is viral for a reason. And again, it just never clicked in my mind because that was not the most important part of the story. There was so much more about this story and about these characters than them being virgins that it just took me a minute to realize this needs to be on this list. The next trope, which generally has always been one of the ones, if someone had originally asked me what is a trope that I hate, this is probably what would have come to mind, and it is love triangles. I do not care for love triangles. Pick a man, stick with the man, drop the man if you don't want to move to the next one. We do not have time for you to be going back and forth, specifically when some of the options are trash. Like, this option is trash and this option is either great or better than this one, and you still trying to deliberate. Baby, what are we doing? However, I've got 2 books on this list that I could have lived in the back and forth for much longer than the author wrote. And I understand that we had to wrap it up. But the first one, most recent one coming to mind, is Even If It Hurts. Now, this is by Marnie Mann. This one is messy, y'all. Messy. However, I enjoy a good mess from time to time. This one centers a character that she meets someone when she is young. She finds that person, she falls in love. They live overseas. She is studying abroad, and then he actually gets an opportunity. She gets an opportunity, and they go separate ways. She winds up getting married. So please be mindful. This has the cheating trope in it, which is a lot of people's least favorite trope. But me personally, in a fictional book, I eat it up every time. She gets married, or she gets engaged, then gets married, reconnects with the person that was her first love, and now she has to choose, do I stick with what I know, which is my significant other that knows and loves me as the woman I am today, or the great love that I never got to see through the finish line. Decisions were made in all regards, and I could not turn away. This was one of those situations where, like, I devoured it in 2 days, and I said, please tell me that the rest of the author's catalog is like this, because if it is, bring it on. I really enjoyed this love triangle. Very messy. I can understand why this is her most controversial book that people do not like and some people love. It's a toss-up, 50-50 coin, whether you like it or you don't. Me personally, I liked it. This next one is probably one of the most underrated books that I have seen. I don't know anyone that has ever read this. However, for me, it went on one of my top books of, I want to say, last year that I read. My top books of 2024. It is a new adult romance that I love heart and soul. Like, the love triangle of this was best friends to lovers mixed with like childhood love mixed with like a sports romance. It just was perfect. And that is going to be Kiss My Scars by Denisha Little. Like, if there is one book that I would tell people to give a shot, because it is a story that is just waiting for someone to love and appreciate it. Again, it does have that love triangle aspect, but the way in which this love triangle comes, you can see that it was never supposed to be a love triangle. She had her person that she found and she chose, and somehow they just got off track, and her best friend had been there the entire time, and never did they look at each other like we're coveting one another. They were truly just friends, and everyone kind of always said, oh, are you and such and such together? Are you and such and such together? And they never were, until they had to rely on one another, and you just root for her to find her peace, not only in her relationship, but also in her family dynamic, just in her life in total, and you just want the female main character to be happy. This very much gave Love and Basketball vibes, and I was here for it. I adore this book. If you're willing to give a love triangle chance, this is one I would tell you to highly, highly consider, because chef's kiss. The next trope that I will say that I can't stand, however, the 2 books that I have to recommend, I have absolutely no shame. I will tell y'all from sun up to sundown, read it. It's going to be Secret Baby. Now, in real life, tell that man he got a child. That's not your job, whether or not they decide to show up, whether or not they decide to be a part of that child's life. Don't let you be the hindrance. I'm not here to preach to you, but I will tell you that I understand why people don't like secret babies. However, Therese M. Clarke, Love Never, is a novella that made me cry. I sobbed reading this, and I absolutely love, like, it is less than 100 pages, and I tabbed it up. I really enjoyed seeing this after I read Heartbeat, which was the first book in the series, and this one kind of filled in the cracks of that book, where you got to see these two characters fell in love with one another. It was just a happenstance. This person was breezing through the States. They weren't there for long. They had a whirlwind romance, and then they left. And by the time they left, they realized they were pregnant and did not have a way to get in touch with that person later on in life. You do get to see it fast forward, where the child finds out and starts to have a relationship with the father. I'm not going to shed too much more light onto this because I want you to read it and experience it for yourself. However, I highly suggest that you read Heartbeat, which is the first in the series, before reading this one, because it will spoil you of a lot of things. But after you read that heavy romantic suspense, it is nice to have something that's soft and touching, emotional, magical realism. Perfect for those that are like, I don't really like secret babies unless this is that unless. Now, I think the best secret baby that I have ever written is by none other than J.L. Seegers. Like, the way in which she wrote Reclaim Me and had me wondering if secret baby really was a trope that I could get behind and stand 10 toes down. This is the proof right here. Y'all, first and foremost, I love Hunter with every fiber of my being. That's my man. Next to Dom, of course. Like, them two together. On any given day, this could be my number one or number two in the series. Most times, it's at war. But this one, secret baby, for good reasons. Like, she loved this man. There was no shadow of doubt in her mind. However, the man was warring with his own demons, and he was fighting, and she had to do what she needed to do to protect her child. But once he realizes that he has fathered a child, the way that he comes in and steps in, and like he never missed a beat. Like, he was like, I am here, use me for whatever you need, financially, emotionally. If you need a break, I want to be there for my child's life. Swooning left and right. Secret baby supreme. Now, the last and final trope that I dislike, which may be some of y'all's favorites, is brother's best friend or sibling's best friend. Something like that. Usually for me, it's brother's best friend, because really, if that's your best friend, why wouldn't you want me to be with them? Like, if that is the person that you consider your absolute best friend in the world, what does it say about you if you wouldn't trust them with your sister? That's just what I'm thinking in this situation. However, I got two books where I was like, yeah, I might have ate with that. The first being What a Match by Mimi Grace. Not only is this brother's best friend, it's older woman, younger man. Now, that is one of my sleeper tropes. Like, that is one of the tropes that I'm like, yeah, if I'm going to do age gap, make the woman older every time. So when I saw that, and this delicious cover, like, this cover is just giving fall vibes that I absolutely love. And I loved this book. This is like the brother's best friend who is younger has always been in love with a big sister, and he was like, she's always going to see me as a kid. She's always going to see me as her brother's friend. Like, she's never going to give me the time of day. And this situation is close proximity, where he has to move in with her, and he is in her space, and she really starts to see how that's a grown man right there, and that's a grown man that cares about my well-being. And the whole time I was blind to the fact. I was like, yeah, girl, get that man a shot. Like, Minnie Grace did it. She made me a believer. Like, never once did did her little brother like, oh no, you shouldn't go out with such and such. He was like, yeah, y'all foolish. Y'all been playing around. Like, I endorsed this. I just didn't want to pressure y'all, but I could see it. Like, y'all work. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, if that's your best friend, little bro, put me on game. If you knew that he had a crush on me, why you wasting my time letting me be with these frogs when I could be with a prince? Make it make sense, y'all. Mimi made it make sense for me. Last and final book for this video is going to be none other than Anna Huang's Twisted Love. Like, Alice Volkov and me, love that man. When I say I love that man, him and his off-key singing, I'm going to support it. I'm going to be like, yeah, baby, go ahead. Because I love that man. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this situation where Alex was like, I'm just doing a solid for my friend. Who is this young lady? And he was like, oh, wait a minute. I actually think I might have a thing for her. And the entire time, he was trying to protect her. When tea started spilling towards the end, and he was like, yeah, this is how this goes with this, and this person been playing you, and blah, 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 blah. I said, protect me from all sides. Protect me from this person. Shield me from this. Love me through this. Endorse me through this. Be with me through this. That is the type of man that I'm trying to have. When I tell y'all, I was so thorough over Alice Volkov, and I was like, this was the first book that I was like, I think I understand why y'all like Brother's Best Friend. Because if this is what the trope is supposed to be about, sign me up. So, that being said, those are just my top few tropes that I dislike. So, that being said, I'm going to ask you all to do me a favor. If there is a dancer emoji or a ballet emoji, anything that gives dancing vibes, leave it down below for me for Reclaim Me. If you have a recommendation, like I said earlier, for Virgin Hero, please drop them in the comments down below, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.